Hi, welcome.
Hi, I'm Alexander.
Hi, Alexander. Nice to meet you. I'm Fleur. Let me actually just add that to my name here. I heard that on track one, they're just finishing up, so there should be more people joining in a few minutes.
And I thought I'd move over quickly. I hope I can share I think I'm the second presenter, so.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello, welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Catherine. I'm making all of you co-hosts, so you should have all the privileges that you need.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
I was just mentioning we have to wait a few more minutes as they're still finishing up on track one, so there should be more people joining us soon.
Fleur, do you have the presentations or my presentation in case I'm struggling to share the screen, which is entirely possible?
I have your presentation. Yes, I only have two of them.
If I struggle, we'll just call the other one up. Is that okay?
Yes, of course. I'll just make sure I have it ready in case we need it. It's a PDF version that I have.
Yeah, is that okay? Does that
Yeah, no problem. Let's hope we don't need it, but we'll have a backup.
Hello. Is you who will pass our presentation also, or it's up to us? Or
Yeah, so I've made everyone co-host and everyone should have privileges to share the screen. So ideally you share your screen yourself because you know best when to move to the next slide, etc. I do have the presentations from Alexander and Julieta, so yours. And yeah, those are the two that I have. So if something goes wrong, I can always bring up the presentation if needed.
Okay, because we have a video also, so we will manage.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you should be able to share your audio as well. I believe it's the Oceani 3 video. Yes, so I have it here as well if we need to.
Okay. Could you please share with Cecile also, because we organize ourselves as if she too will pass. Hello, Elizabeth.
Hello, Julieta. Hello. So the session is closing, so the panel session, and let's wait with 1 minute just to come back for all the participants to join this room, if you don't mind.
Early because I'm just entering the conference now. So
Okay, great. Thank you. Sorry for being late, but the session took 5 minutes more, so
no worries.
probably we can spend some time to have more. participants in this session. Okay, so probably we can start no more. So we have more, more. So now we have to respect our time, and I would like to welcome you to the collaborative and practical education session. And on the behalf of the conference organizers, to greet you all at this session. So my name is Asta Donori, and I'm from Kaunas University of Technology, and today I will be chairing this session. So we have 4 registered presentations, and I have calculated that for each presentation we will have 20 minutes. Probably, if you don't mind, I would like to suggest to spend 15 minutes sharing your ideas, and 5 minutes leave to the questions and answer session. So I will check the time, and I will try to show so some of the symbols that to keep your attention, that so time is over, and probably we can just summarize the presentation. So today I would like to present the first presentation, which is named Ocean I3, a cross-border community engaged with the ocean, by Julieta. Oh, I'm really sorry for pronouncing the surname.
Don't worry.
Okay, it's Julieta Cecile, and it's Ziar. So Juliet is one of the coordinators of the Ocean I3 project, and is responsible for the education and employability and at this campus Foundation, sorry, with a special focus on the campus products, a regional campus of international excellence. She's a part of the staff at the University Bordeaux, France, in the Directorate of Innovation, Partnership and Employability, where she is responsible for the development of a pilot projects for innovation in training and employability. Cecile joined El Campus Foundation team into 2020 as a project technician for Ocean I3. She holds master degree in foreign languages, applied to international trade from university tours, and master degree in cross-border in interterritorial cooperation from the University of Pays de Andorre. So Itzar is doctor in pedagogy by the University of Salamanca, and was awarded with an extraordinary doctorate award of 2000. She is professor in the Department of Didactic and Schools Organization at the University of the Basque Country. So the team, the floor is yours. So you are very much welcome to share your presentation and your ideas.
Thank you. Can we share screen? So just Itziar is not with us today, but is the co-authorship also, but it's Cecile and me who will do the presentation.
No, I cannot share. I don't know why.
Probably, Cecile, you can send me by chat, and I can help you with an opening the presentation from my computer.
It was just working just now. We saw the screen actually being shared.
Maybe now.
There it is.
Yes.
Can you see?
It works, yes.
It works. Cannot see.
Yes.
Okay.
We can see it.
Hello. My name.
The presentation. The first one.
You cannot see it as a presentation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So good morning. My name is Cecile Agulo, and together with my colleague Julieta Barrenetxea, we are going to present the experience of the educational innovative project Ocean Knife 3, developed by two universities, the University of the Basque Country and the University of Bordeaux, as well as the Foundation Euskampus Fundazioa. To begin with, we would like to share with you a video which shows not only the approach, but also the atmosphere of this project. Before the video starts, I would like to highlight that we are making an important commitment to protect and to enrich ourselves with the multilingual reality of our territory. And that is why the three local languages, which are Spanish, French, and Basque, are alternated in the video, and the subtitles are in English. So I'm going to try to share the video now. Sorry for this. Can you see it?
Yes. But so you have to share the sound as well.
Sorry, can you hear the video?
No,
No.
Unfortunately.
When
you are sharing.
Fleur, do you think you can try to? I'm sorry.
Yes, it's in the settings when you actually click on share screen. So if you share your screen again, on the bottom there's a box where you can tick share the audio, computer audio as well.
Okay, sorry. Ahora me pide no sé qué. No. He's asking to instalar algo para. He's asking me to share, to install something on my computer to share the audio. So
if you don't mind
I'm
sharing
sorry.
the link, so we can present.
Okay.
Now it works.
Cada año, Europa genera 25 millones de plástico desechado, del cual menos del 30% se recicla. Además, el 85% de la contaminación de nuestras playas se debe a los plásticos. Una amenaza grave para la salud de la ciudadanía, la vida marina y el medio ambiente. La contaminación del océano por plásticos es una oportunidad para aprender con problemas complejos y desde un enfoque de sostenibilidad. Ozeani 3 hezkuntza berriztatzeko proiektu bat da. 2018an sortutakoa eta bertan parte hartzen dute Euskal Herriko Unibertsitateak, Bordeleko Unibertsitateak eta Euskampus Fundazioak.
De par son engagement envers le développement durable, le projet Océan I3 bénéficie depuis l'année 2020 d'un soutien financier POCTEFA, Programme européen de coopération territoriale entre l'Espagne, la France et l'Andorre.
Su objetivo es formar y sensibilizar a personas comprometidas con el desarrollo sostenible de la economía azul y verde en el litoral vasco aquitano. Consiste principalmente en un itinerario interuniversitario, multidisciplinar y plurilingüe de formación intensiva, en el que se desarrollan competencias en sostenibilidad y empleables para la economía azul transfronteriza. Ozeani 3 unibertsitateko kideak diziplina guztietara daude irekita. Eta gaur egun, arlo hauetako irakasle eta ikasleek parte hartzen dute. Zuzenbidea, pedagogia, biologia, komunikazioa, administrazioa eta enpresak, kirolaren kudeaketa eta berrikuntza, frantzez filologia eta kriminologia.
Océan I3 propose des méthodologies basées sur le modèle pédagogique IKD-I3 de l'Université du Pays Basque, qui combine l'apprentissage, la recherche, le développement durable, tout en intégrant les valeurs de l'agenda du développement durable des Nations Unies.
Los agentes sociales del territorio proponen retos, problemas reales y prácticas vinculadas a la contaminación del océano por plásticos. Los alumnos y alumnas de las dos universidades que ya están realizando tesis, trabajos de fin de grado, fin de máster o prácticas vinculadas con este tema participan en un ciclo de 5 talleres transfronterizos. Mintegietan, proiektuak partekatu eta aberaztu egiten dira diziplina artekotasunari esker. Baita ere, enpresekin, gobernuz kanpoko erakundeekin, elkarteekin, administrazioekin eta abarrekin harreman zuzenean izandako esperientzien eta ikuspegien kontrasteari esker. También se realizan jornadas de sensibilización en las playas para acercar a un público más amplio a los retos y oportunidades profesionales de la economía azul. El laboratorio EPOC de la Universidad de Burdeos participa activamente organizando actividades de ciencia ciudadana basadas en un protocolo para la clasificación de plásticos.
La communauté universitaire et les acteurs socio-économiques de Océan I3 collaborent ensemble sur des projets auxquels chacun contribue directement pour répondre aux problématiques et aux besoins de l'économie bleue du territoire.
EHUko Dream ikertaldeak gurekin dihardu lankidetzan. Ozean, hiru komunitatearen kulturarteko eta eleanitzeko funtzionamendua eta jardunbide egokiak ezagutzeko, laguntzeko eta orientatzeko. Así, preservamos y fomentamos la diversidad lingüística de nuestro territorio. En todas las actividades, alternamos el uso de las 3 lenguas locales, castellano, francés y euskera, además del inglés como lengua franca.
L'ensemble de la communauté Océan I3 développe des compétences professionnelles nécessaires à l'employabilité, telles que l'analyse, l'appréhension et la vision globale de problèmes complexes, la créativité ou encore la communication dans des contextes interculturels et multilingues.
EHUko ikasgura ikertaldeak unibertsitateko hezkuntzaren berrikuntza horren garapenean laguntzen du. Esperientzia monitorizatzeko eta proiektuak aurrera egin ahala orientazioa eta aholkularitza emateko.
We need to talk more because otherwise people won't understand what's happening when we are sometimes using materials that has microplastics, or what's happening, how this microplastics pollution is affecting the biodiversity.
Poder conocer a un montón de gente con distintas perspectivas tratando el mismo tema.
Yo creo que lo definiría como un trabajo colectivo.
Desberdina delako, porque entzunda olako proiektuk ez neukan, jendeakin elkarlanean eta olaitzeko ez neukan entzunda. Orduan, desberdina, gero ez dakit, interesantia bazkenian jende ezberdina ezagutzeko beste modu badala.
Alors pour définir Océan I3 en 3 mots, je pense que je choisirais le mot nouveauté, innovation et environnement.
Si eres estudiante, docente o agente social, tu participación en el proyecto Ocean I3 contribuirá a la sostenibilidad del océano e impulsará la investigación sobre retos territoriales transfronterizos, sin perder la perspectiva local de los mismos.
De plus, tu feras partie d'un projet collaboratif visant à améliorer les opportunités d'emploi dans l'économie bleue transfrontalière.
Thank you. So while we put the PowerPoint, I told you some little things. So thanks to the video, you have been able to see the basics of how the project works. And in any case, in the questions section, we will be able to clarify and to give you more information if you want. We would now like to complement the information by focusing on the pedagogical and methodological aspect of the project. Then we explain in more detail what the challenge-based learning Ocean I3 itinerary consists of. And finally, we will emphasize on the process we use to build the challenges. Ocean I3 shapes a complex ecosystem. I just mentioned you some conceptual aspects and some key ones as social commitment, active learning, transdisciplinarity, institutionality, territoriality, employability. Ocean I3 is proposed as a learning context in which sustainability and transversal competencies are developed, as you can see in the video. And some example of competencies that students develop in Ocean I3 are, for example, to be able to integrate values adopted in the Agenda for Sustainable Development, also to be able to integrate and manage knowledge provided by different disciplines and stakeholders, to develop global and integrative vision of problems, to exercise creativity to solve problems from different perspectives, and also the direct immersion we have in our cross-border reality allows students and teachers also to work in an intercultural and multilingual context. We can't, oh yeah, it's okay.
Okay, so this is the Ocean I3 itinerary. So this slide, in these slides, we show the cycle of activities that they are developed in the Ocean I3 project. It mainly consists of inter-university, multidisciplinary and multilingual intensive education and training cycle of 5 workshops. You can see the blue dots correspond to the workshops, and the green one to the intermediate activities. In those workshops, the students develop transversal competencies for sustainability by getting involved in challenges proposed by stakeholders of the Basque Aquitaine cross-border coastline. The stakeholders participate in 3 of the 5 workshops, which makes the itinerary not only multidisciplinary, but also transdisciplinary, because they participate right from the beginning to propose real challenges linked to the plastic pollution of the ocean. They also share ideas and discuss about the first results with the team. For example, in the 3rd workshop, they offer internship opportunities, and therefore they help connecting the students within the university community to the stakeholders and the society. Students from both universities integrate multidisciplinary working teams and participate in all 5 cross-border workshops, which can either be held online or on site. and they collaboratively seek proposals and solutions to the challenges. They also work in between workshops, using innovative digital platforms such as EUS Campus Digital and other virtual tools and applications suitable for collaborative work and project development. In each workshop, the students develop competencies and transversal skills, which are represented in this slide with colored squares. For example, we can see that multilingualism, transdisciplinarity, and which they are developed in all 5 workshops. In the first workshop, the university community meets with stakeholders, and the purpose of this workshop is to know better the challenge, the members of each other's team, and to set up objectives for the collaborative work. In the second workshop, students and teachers meet together to discuss the project and to decide the format for the deliverable and create a group identity. In the third one, each team meets with the stakeholder to present a first draft of the project and get feedback of their work, and then they are able to adjust it before the next workshop. In the fourth workshop, each team will work on adjusting the collective project. They will prepare the presentation of the final version of the work, and they will present it in the next workshop. But in this fourth workshop, they will also work on consciousness regarding competencies they are developing by contributing to the challenges, as well as the contribution of their work to the Sustainable Development Goals. Finally, in the fifth workshop, the whole community gathers to present and give visibility to their project. They share results and they put the experience in value. On the next slide, let's see if I can. Yeah, on this slide you have 2 pictures, and you can see the community in an on-site workshop, cross-border workshop in Andai, which is right by the Spanish and French border, and also an example, a screenshot of an online workshop where we use the Gather virtual platform.
Based on Cecile's description of the workshop cycle, we would now like to focus on the process we use to build the challenges. So in the challenge-based learning methodology, we identify 3 main steps. As you see on the left, engagement is the first one, when normally students are involved and they do a learning process by outlining and specifying the challenge to be addressed. They formulate questions and they must move from an extensive and broad idea to a real specific challenge that moves them to action. The second step in this framework is investigate, and their learners plan and participate in a process in which they construct possible solutions to the challenge, they prioritize questions, and they activate the necessary knowledge to elaborate the solution. They can propose also activities, resources, or tools. The third and last step in this model is action. The proposed solutions are based on the evidence built up in the investigation step. Students can create prototypes, they test them, and they apply the solutions in a real context and with a real audience. That gives them the opportunity to assess the effectiveness of the solution and to make adjustments with stakeholders. In the specific case of Ocean A3, we changed little things, and our methodology has 4 important moments. The first one is when we design the complexity. That's the moment where stakeholders and teachers work together to elaborate the main questions that we will propose to students. So that's different from the normal moment. On the second step, we engage students that join our project in the first workshop that Cecile tell us. The whole community then in the first workshop, stakeholders, teachers and students work together from the main question to a more specific ones that allows us all the students from different disciplines to find a way to contribute to the challenge. The third step for us puts together, investigate and act. Is in the next 3 workshops where we combine research to solve questions with action. In fact, the third workshop serves to validate the design prototype with the stakeholders, and it gives the students the possibility to adjust our proposition. The fourth step is the last workshop, and there, the fifth one, and there the results are disseminated and shared, and the stakeholders are present again to give feedback and look for new opportunities also to collaborate on the identifying new problems we can find.
Okay, so
Cecile?
sorry. To give you an idea of what kind of challenges we worked on, we have given you some example. So the Friday Foundation is a non-governmental organization which raises public awareness about plastic pollution in the ocean. And with them, we worked on identifying how rivers contribute to marine pollutions and finding solution about it. Second stakeholder or second challenges we've been working on is with Gaia, which is a cluster of knowledge industry, and Rivage Protect, which is part of Suez Company, which is a water supply company in France. And those stakeholders proposed a challenge which was meant to develop like a prototype to enable collecting plastic in a non-intrusive way in the biosphere of Urdaibai, which is in the Basque Country. And third one is with Matter, which is a museum boat. And they also are involved in awareness raising activities, and they organize plastic collection in the ocean. And they proposed to design a study and a monitoring protocol about marine litter in the Basque Country in the Bay of Pasaia.
So to conclude and to give you some idea of the dimension of the
Giulietta, we cannot hear you. And also,
sorry, because we are in the same place, so we
yes,
need to cut. So
yes,
I told you that to conclude, we would like to show you some global data about the 4-year period we developed the project from 2018 to 2022. We continue now. And we had during this period a total of 144 students, 47 teachers that follow in different sessions, and 19 stakeholders, 16 disciplines, and 22 challenges. And we have disciplines like psychology, sport management, business, biology, criminology, engineering, pedagogy, physics of material, nursing, education, communication and journalism, art, ecotoxicology, civil law, administrative law, like that. So that's our abanico disciplines.
So Ocean History has been committed towards sustainability, and from the experience and the methodology used during those last editions, they will now begin to work on new topics such as marine renewable energies or circular economy. And we hope to be able to share those experiences with you in a future meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation. I'm really sorry but I cannot announce the questions and answers session because so we are really short of time. So probably in the chat you can take a look on the chat and you will find other questions which are provided to your team. So could you please share? But now I would like to invite Alexander Haynes from King's College London. And Alexander is the chair of EIE Expert Community Summer Schools, and he has been building King's large education portfolio of cutting-edge, diverse academic summer education opportunities from their early beginnings in London and overseas. So Alexander will share the ideas about the interdisciplinary cooperation of short-term programming. So Alexander, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Asta, and good morning, everybody. Fleur, would you mind terribly to share the screen? Because I think because we're short of time, with me fiddling around with slides, that wouldn't be very much appreciated by the audience. So my topic is really something that I've picked out of my everyday life, which is interdisciplinary co-creation of short-term programming. And the question as to how we can do this, how we can work with a number of different faculties and perhaps get new angles to work, to research that otherwise might not be possible. So if you could move to the next slide. So there is in university often a consensus that faculty-to-faculty initiatives need to arise almost in an organic way. They are sort of produced by research grants. There's a notion there of academic purity and sometimes elite about what, you know, constitutes a valuable project with valuable outcomes. And I think that's inherently problematic. I know there are people on the call from a number of different countries, and I think the volume, the extent of the third space, which is that space in university where staff are neither belonging to the academic side nor to the purely professional services or administrative career paths. That sort of space, I think, differs from country to country. In my country, the United Kingdom, there has been over the last few years a growing number of people who've been employed in that area. In the previous slide, you saw that the Academic Whitchurch has done an awful lot of work on this, and has been helping to define this work, this kind of new and interesting side of university life. So I'm based in summer programs at King's College London. It's an institutional cross-faculty team. And part of my work as head of the Education Innovation Program is really to tease out the research expertise, but package it in a sort of short-term format that we as a team are able to facilitate, but we're also facilitating and curating the content of it. So we are able to answer questions that otherwise the university in its fragmented stage would not be able to answer. And it's quite a big enterprise. We've got about 1,700 students coming in the summer to us from over 60 countries. It's quite a global experience. Which also means that we have to adapt to a sort of internationalized curriculum. So the role of the third space can be misunderstood, and sometimes I think it's done badly. What it's not is managerialism, and you might find that at your own institution, that I've just copied a sort of a Wikipedia definition of this, but in my book, managerialism is talking managerial language, mimicking perhaps processes that are happening in the free market economy, but doing it badly in a university context. And almost accidentally creating a system that sort of is constantly feeding itself, but hasn't got the neither the real authority and connection with academic goings on, nor the purpose that it was originally meant to fulfill. So that's a negative kind of definition of what managerialism is. But I think the role of what I call the third space shouldn't be that. Fleur. There are a lot of advantages actually of having a dynamic third space that is listening to both sides of if we call it the business, the organization of a university. And advantages that I find I have as somebody who's coming in, you know, sometimes underplaying my academic credentials, sometimes emphasizing it, is the ability to stand above department political divides. My colleagues have a unique skill set that combines business development, academic insight, market knowledge, program development skills, and so on. We also have the leads from the market to actually develop things for particular clients. So these skill sets are important. I think it's a thinking role rather than, you know, a purely administrative role. That also is sometimes difficult. How do you make thinking visible? So you have to be very proactive and constantly explain what your role is. It's a bit of a matchmaker role as well. That often works, sometimes doesn't. In the case studies, I will talk about that. And I mentioned the business development role that we have as well. My unit, amongst a number of objectives, is also a bit income generating unit. But not everything that we do is that. So I alluded to some challenges. There are questions around competency that are brought to us from the academic colleagues, and we're often not understood from the administrative side either. We're sort of seen as something that is sort of in between, possibly not playing by the rules, possibly not having the weight and the credentials. We sometimes speak a different language if we do it badly, but in an ideal world, we speak, if I mentioned that both poles within universities, both languages, and we are able to phrase our work in these different ways. And then sometimes there might be charring objectives, you know, there might be somebody who might want to just use their research to reach out and have impact, whilst our objectives might be narrower, they might be much more aligned with institutional objectives. So there can be a bit of a mishmash, and there can be a bit of a power struggle at times as well, a question of influence, and unfortunately sometimes also of respect, that you're sort of treated like somebody who's supporting something, somebody who's a secretary, rather than a partner in a common endeavor. So Celia Richard says that, you know, it doesn't sit very easily, and there's sometimes ambiguous and uncertain situations. That's something I subscribe to as well. As I mentioned, I'm chair of the summer programs, summer school expert community in EAE, the European Association for International Educators. And that's a topic that often comes up there, that people don't really feel validated. They don't really quite know where they sit. But when I do polling with these colleagues, all of them want to have more say also about educational matters, because it gives them a tool to really do their work better. Celia, sorry, Fleur. So I'm going to talk briefly about some case studies. I've done a lot of work in this area, and perhaps these case studies are not the best. They're not sort of covering everything, but I thought I'd give you also a bit of a chronological overview of how we've been developing in our work. And you can see sort of the different strands in it, and hopefully also in the value of programming itself. because I'm very impressed with the previous presentation and the, you know, the idea of bringing cultural collaboration as well as collaboration on the environment in one shared in natural habitat environment together. I think there's sort of similar streams in this kind of work through curating that collaboration. Fleur, we'll start with the Dialogues on Disability program. That's a program we at King's started with the University of Delhi 10 years ago now, and it's open to students who have a disability. Now, definitions of disability differ very much between India and the United Kingdom. We move on to the next slide. You'll see that it's not just these two universities, but in the meantime, other universities, a German university, a Mexican university, have joined the program, and which is sort of made up of students with disabilities as well as disability professionals. And it's very interesting to get these groups together. Also the professionals, by the way, because they work in very national frameworks. They don't necessarily have that international connection. So one of the unexpected outcomes of the program has been that these disability professionals could actually network and develop ideas for policies, and also question you know, definitions of disability. Just give you one example. 10 years ago, dyslexia wasn't recognized as a disability in India, but it made up about 70% of disability cases in my own university. So the program is a way to reflect on experiences, develop ideas, and then to think about turning these ideas into policies as well, Fleur. And because I mentioned working towards different institutional strategies, one strategy that I've always been very interested in is the internationalization strategy. So interestingly, King's then through that program became better known amongst students with disabilities, and they were asking already at open days about our provision. And you know, it's quite, studying in a big city can be quite daunting, and we could say, well, we've got a number of things in place here, and also understand you know, the country that you come from and your different kind of the different way your views of disability and of your own disability have been shaped. Yeah. So really bringing together their different strands, academic strands, I'll mention more in another case study, but also different strands within the university, the disability advisory service, careers, the sports unit, and estates, having sort of a very holistic approach to education and looking at the student and also at the colleagues who participated as individuals. That's definitely a program we wouldn't have been able to take on had we not existed as a unit and as a team. Fleur. So this next program, and this is just a picture, is actually one that I organized together with the big public national archive in the United Kingdom, the National Archives at Kew. And this was a program that was different in a number of ways. It diversified the audience for King's, in the sense that this program was actually mainly attended by people who were already retired, who might have studied at King's some years ago, many years ago in some cases, but wanted to reconnect with an academic endeavor. And we brought together the history department, particularly a member of the history department, and the National Archives. And then out of that course, out of that weekend course, came the idea to actually create a podcast on the National Archives institutional history in places that our university now occupies. So what was originally designed for quite a specific, non-traditional university audience has now had an impact on ordinary King's students by being able to use this podcast material for degree teaching and for anyone in the wider university community. So it's a fascinating program. So finally, this is, I said I would talk about it a little bit chronologically. So whilst this Dialogues on Disability is started about 10 years ago, this is a program we just ran this year for a major global bank who financed the program, but the students were actually from a number of different countries and they all received a scholarship. So this again was a program that brought together very different academic disciplines, different faculties for a program that otherwise doesn't exist. It was very highly acclaimed by our students. They sort of took to social media an awful lot, which is sort of the thing to do these days. But it's been really fun as well. If we go to the next slide, I explain a little bit more about that. So again, it's about this researched, enriched academic content from different people, but it was interdisciplinary because it brought people together from political science, leadership studies, intercultural studies. Again, people from the Estates Department who do a study on sustainability. We've had industry speakers and so on, the kind of thing you would expect, but really drawing together a narrative. And by the way, I'm the one who's typically writing the timetables for this, giving people some room, but overall it's curated by that third space. It's not something that would purely come out of a particular academic department. So to conclude, and I just deliberately keep the presentation a bit short, is that innovative education accepts a more holistic approach to empower students and to help solve problems of this world without the confines of disciplinary research. And how often are we confronted with this? I am too. It's something that we all have to sort of overcome, and we have to convince, and we have to act as partners in roles like mine. Student satisfaction is very high on these programs because they feel it's a very bespoke endeavor. It's something that speaks directly to them. It's not something that has to fulfill certain criteria and certain regulations predominantly. So they can be lone standing, but they can also be embedded into other innovation programs. They can lead to other things, or they can form part of a wider strategy. And some of the work actually then reflects back on what individual academics do in their departments and helps them shape their research and their career trajectories. I'm running a blog called Summer Times at KCL, which you can subscribe to if you want to. It's of course free. But recently I've had a number of people who taught with us on programs when they were PhD students, and now they're professors in different places. And they say what a role involvement in such interdisciplinary programming has played for them. And it finally also has an impact on how we see universities more profoundly, trying to overcome any kind of barriers that might artificially arise, that might create mistrust or lack of mutual support, and trying to bring that together and actually create a sense of excitement about the opportunities that are out there for us. Flow to the last slide now. So we need to rethink these spaces for innovation in education, empower actors. How can we create trust and openness? In my book, it's something that's a constant endeavor. It's often a difficult space, but there's enormous freedom in that space, but also enormous constraint. And a lot of diplomacy as well as boldness required. So it's quite a difficult thing. And when we have new members starting in our team, we sort of see how long it takes to actually get into that right mindset and be able and confident to have these conversations at different levels. So I'd be interested to hear more about how business development, education development converge in your own organization. If you haven't got time, as Asta said, very happy to chat on, online, or if you want to email me afterwards as well. I'm very happy to continue the conversation. Asta, with that, I hope I've now not been too quick, but thank you for giving
Thank you, Alexander. Thank you very much for this really important topic. I think that talking about the current issues and the current demands, I would say that current problems makes our education more inclusive. So thank you very much for sharing your great achievements on this topic. So as Alexander mentioned already, so please share your questions on the chat. And now I'm really happy and really glad to invite the other speaker, Catherine Hayward from Union. And Catherine will talk about the empowering higher education and the urban stakeholders to tackle pressing urban challenges by creating and actively engaging urban communities of practice. So Catherine holds a bachelor degree in conservation ecology, master degree in sustainability science, policy and society. Catherine currently works on the variety of European Union-funded projects related with urban challenges, valorization, and entrepreneurial education. So, Catherine, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I am about to share my screen. I think you should all see it now.
We don't hear you well. Well, it's just me. No.
Yes. And we cannot see the screen as well.
Can you see my screen? I currently can't see you.
Something with
okay. I just know. Okay, so thanks so much for having me today. I will speak a little bit more about community practice and multidisciplinary learning interventions. Firstly, focusing on the
Catherine, if I can just quickly interrupt, I think we still have difficulty hearing you. Do you perhaps have another internet connection to switch to? Because I think it might be due to some lag in the connection there.
I think that she fell.
Oh, she's gone.
Yeah, she did.
Perhaps we should switch around the presentations and continue with the.
Yeah.
Okay, if you don't mind, so yes, we can do it as well. So the next presentation is about the developing perceptions between educators through escape rooms. So I'm really glad to invite Isabel Gomez and Jessica Reuters. Isabel has a PhD in psychology from the University of Porto, researcher and practitioner for several years in the field of adult education, higher education, and social innovation. Isabel is an author of various scientific articles, book chapters, and other publications. Currently, she is working as a project manager of EU-funded projects at Advances. So Jessica Rorte is a PhD student in business and economics and a research fellow at the University of Aveiro. The floor is yours.
So I'll start off. I will be presenting this work together with Jessica. We have divided the sections of our presentation. And let me just start by telling you that I think it's important that we situate what we are going to present here today in the scope of the Unlocks project life. Because we have not yet had the chance to tell you all about it, and we will not do it. Just let me tell you that among many various things that you can explore on the project's website, I think there are three main milestones of the project that helps us understand the work we are presenting here today. So the first one would be the research that we did on the topic of designing and implementing educational escape rooms as a very recent topic. So we did desk research, literature review, we did interviews with experts that we were able to identify in Europe and outside of Europe also. And we did also identification of several case studies, which we had a chance to summarize and showcase individually and also in an integrated report, which you can also explore on our website. Then we started developing the contents of our massive open online course, because the idea is that we produce material and pedagogical resources, as well as the pedagogical framework for teaching educators in all levels virtually how to design and implement educational escape rooms for their contexts. And this has actually been almost finalized with the presentation of our MOOC yesterday in one of our sessions. And then within these all these activities, we promised in our application to design and implement our own educational escape rooms in our own contexts. So virtually all the partners should have been doing this for the last couple of months. And that's what we are presenting here today, okay? So in a very quick and general way, we are going to tell you about 3 different escape rooms that we did in Portugal. One was designed and implemented by Advances, the place where I work, and with the primary teachers. And the other 2 were designed and implemented by the University of Aveiro. And all 3 of them had different general objectives. So we think that's the richness of our sharing here today. I would like to share my screen with you. I hope I can do that. Yes? Okay. So. Okay, so the goal here was to not only present you the different escape rooms that we developed, but also to share with you what the educators who participated in these escape rooms perceived throughout the experience of being in an escape room. So these were the 3 escape rooms that we designed. The first one, which happened in Aveiro, it actually responded to 2 objectives. The first one was actually to invite people and look at our MOOC and also give us feedback as educators in the pilot phase of the course. So we did the escape room on the one hand, to present our findings and framework, to capture people and invite them to see the MOOC, and also to capture their perceptions of the experience of being participants in an educational escape room, also with the goal to understand which potentialities they saw in this experience. The second one was implemented in advances with the primary school teachers after a masterclass. That is, at the end of a masterclass, we used the escape room as a way to capture if the teachers had actually achieved the learning goals that we expected them to do by the end of the masterclass. So in a way, this educational escape room was actually being used as an assessment tool to see if they had actually developed the knowledge that we wanted them to. And finally, a third one was also implemented by Aveiro in an online format. Okay, so you see different perspectives of using educational escape rooms here in different contexts. And the goal was to present, again, the MOOC in a more finalized version, using a digital educational escape room for teachers, for higher education teachers. So I would invite now Jessica to tell us a little bit about this first experience we did in Aveiro, actually, because she and her team were the responsibles for the whole design of the escape room that we used here. Jessica?
We don't hear you.
The headphone, maybe now? Yeah. Okay. So in the first escape room was created together Advance and the University of Aveiro. We considered the whole process to create the escape room. So first the interlearning objectives, the theme, the characters, the narrative, and finally the puzzles. We realized this escape room in a workshop for professors. Khaled, in the previous slide, Isabel, please. Yes, Khaled Escape Rooms, How Not to Escape This Innovation. And took place in the March this year, and it was run by Isabel and Marta Diaz. Okay. So in this workshop, 8 higher educator professors participated in this workshop, and was divided between theoretical and the practical activities. In the theoretical part, briefly discussed what are escape rooms and how they can be applied in education. Then the participants were divided into 2 teams, while one team understood about the pedagogical framework and the types of the puzzles most commonly used in these methodologies. In the other team played the escape room. So we created the escape room about the sustainable entrepreneurship. And the name of the escape room is Can You Help Solve the Climate Crisis? This story takes place in the year 2050 in a Magic Potions factory. So entrepreneurs created this factory, but it becomes the most polluting in the world. So to regulate the levels and escape the room, entrepreneurs needed to learn about sustainable entrepreneurship and find the optimal levels of the stock, water, and CO2 in 30 minutes. Before, it is impossible to breathe in the factory. This is the narrative. So this creating process was interesting and fun, because when designing the narrative, we imagine a more immersive room And for example, with smoke, with water and registers and real control panels. But in the practice, when to create the puzzles, it's difficult to get specific elements. So, and expensive too. So in this case, so we had to improvise these elements for imagining a factory. Yes. So we focus on the three main puzzles, which with a number to find the optimal level of water, stock, and CO2. But in the escape room, there were other complementary puzzles and challenges to reach these three. So the puzzles contain elements, cut and text symbol puzzles. For example, we put a cut paper and somewhere and healthy and the text about financial control and the stock control. And there were symbols scattered around the room. And the match puzzles, they need to find the previous information through exploration and hide objects to the match puzzle on the board. They also need the observation, attention to detail, and the problem solving to relate these elements. For example, they need to connect the world's most polluting countries through news and the company reports. We also used a camera to accompany the participants and the laptop computer to give hints. So we then applied a short questionnaire about the experience for professors. In the end, only one team complete this escape room. So have two teams and one complete. The other did not finish in the time. 90% found the escape room immersive. And for 8% of the team, this was the first escape room they had played. And the professor's perception, the soft skills that can be developed through this methodology are creativity, communication, time management, critical thinking, analytical skills, patience, perseverance, and teamwork.
So now, again, with me. So this was the group that we involved in our escape room at Advances. As I told you, the idea was to capture the knowledge they would have acquired at the end of the masterclass, so a one-week intensive masterclass about project-based learning. So we thought about building a space where they could recover specific knowledge and concepts and also resources associated with the project-based learning approach. So we had, as I told you, primary teachers participating in this educational escape room. There were 11 at all. At the end of an intensive masterclass, and the participants were divided in 3 different groups. We had 3 different rooms with different challenges happening simultaneously in the Advances facilities. And then when all of them escaped their own room, they would have a collective final challenge to escape the building. The narrative addressed the following challenge. This was a team of teachers who were visiting a school which was implementing innovative methodologies, and suddenly they just were locked inside the school alone. The janitor went away, the guard didn't leave them any way of getting out the school, so they had to quickly, in 30 minutes, solve all the challenges so they would not stay stuck in the school for a whole weekend. Okay, here in the pictures you can see the map of the school. You can see the director's picture. This is the director of the school, very formal, conservative person. And then you can see one of the participants trying to open an archive where there was a challenge to be solved. So overall, I can tell you that this wasn't, even though it seems complex, this wasn't an expensive escape room to build. We used lots of materials we had available at the office, and we created the challenges on the basis of that available material. So you see, this is one of the archives we use for our own files. So, you know, it has a key, so it could be used here. We only bought one small labyrinth where there was a ball. They had to try and get it out so they could access a key. So it's very basic things. What we really wanted them to do was to explore the concepts behind each challenge and reach the solutions that were associated with the whole project-based learning framework. So we used, as you can see, text cut puzzles that we overlapped with a text, and they reached the word that they had to decipher. We used alphanumeric puzzles, word search, hidden objects, and yes, another thing we bought was an invisible ink pen, and they had some invisible messages on the boards they were using in each room. And of course, we used observation and problem solving. We also used the 3D printer components, because in project-based learning, one of the main resources you have is actually the 3D printer that we wanted them to know how to use, at least theoretically, before they started their classes with the kids. And we also used one laptop per room and 3 game masters who were giving hints to the people in each room. And then they came out and we had another computer just seeing the collective dynamics. So basically, again, I think this repeats very much what the group of higher education teachers who were in Aveiro. So they thought 10% only said it was not immersive. All of them completed the escape rooms more or less at the same time, the individual ones, and then the collective, they also were able to successfully finish. And here we have a higher percentage of people who had participated before in commercial escape rooms. And here we can see the soft skills they think they could develop if they used escape rooms in an educational context, which is mainly also those which were reported by the Jessica's group. So, yeah, to finalize, this was a very positive experience for all the participants involved. This is very recurrent in all the feedback we get from educators when they do this. And it creates a lot of interest in the approach. It's not like an addictive new way of doing things, but it's a real interest and genuine interest on how they can eventually use this in their contexts. Also, they always report the relational dynamics that emerge within the group when they are working, because they are under pressure, they have to dialogue with each other to find the solutions for the puzzle. So it's really a very relational activity. The hints are very important because they allow participants to get out of a demotivated mode that can happen when the challenge is too high and people are not able to solve the challenge for a long time. It's very crucial that the game master is able to give them some crucial hints to solve the puzzle. Also, they highlight the collaboration between the members, which is related to that relational dynamics between them. And also the development of soft skills, actually is a main finding of everything that has to do with using EERs in educational contexts. And finally, a brief presentation of this digital escape room that was held by Aveiro.
We also conduct an online workshop at Aveiro University, presented by Marta Dias and Marlene Amorim. This workshop was online in September this year, and we achieved 56 participants in this workshop. The training plan includes MOOC contents. So then a brief introduction was made about the theories of ERs, institutional support, narrative, and puzzles. It then invited the participants to play a digital escape room game in 10 different breakout rooms and in 40 minutes. It was the first time that most of the participants played a digital escape room. So it was positive to present this methodology and feel interest from the participants. So after we have some reflections from the participants during the workshop, we asked what are main motivations for integrating ERs in the classroom. So the answers is about creating interaction with students, pedagogical innovation, diversify learning methodologies, promote interaction in communication, and curiosity. In this case, I had never heard of ER in the context of education before. In the second question, what learning objectives would you like to focus on when using ER? So the main learning objectives are related to development of transversal skills like teamwork, problem solving, collaborative work, and more to consolidation of program content and diagnosis. In this case, for introduce new terms and trends.
So lessons learned, just to finish up and wrap up this presentation. I mean, it's evident that there are a lot of positive potential in using EER, but we always have to ask ourselves, I don't remember who in the previous session said, we first have to ask, is this content or knowledge that we want to vehicle gamifiable? Is it? And which game should we use to do this? We are here to show you all the potentialities that we've come across during all this project, during these 3 years. We are so amazed by what we can do with this, right? And how much interest has been raised and awareness has been raised on using innovative pedagogies in different contexts and educational levels. So, of course, we are eager to do more things with this focus. I think the main finding is actually that the educators open their minds and their possibilities and also feel confident enough to know that they are able to push such a project for their own classrooms. And to finalize, I will leave you in the chat with this link for a video that was produced by Aveiro about 3 escape rooms they already implemented there in different formats. Okay, if you want to check it. Thank you very much. And I'm sorry if I took too long for the presentation. Thank you
very much, Jessica and Isabel, for your presentation. But now I see that we have Catherine with us. So Catherine.
Hi, yes, I'm back. I'm going to put my video off.
Yeah, if you don't mind, so we can take a
mind,
few minutes from our lunch break, and it would be an honor just to have with you with us and to listen
let's see.
your presentation.
Right. Let's hope this works. I'm currently on the Wi-Fi of the restaurant next door, so I'm hoping it works out. Here we go. Okay. Hello, everybody.
Unfortunately.
Things we'll be covering today is
Catherine, oh, now we can. Okay, let's try
you can
one
see
more.
now?
Yes, we can see now, but you know.
Yes, I'm wondering. Okay, let's try one more time. If you can't see it, we'll just do it this way, or we can see. Okay, so this is what we'll be going through. We'll be using Urban Good Camp as a case study, and we'll look at developing communities for educational purposes, and also the preliminary outcomes of the Urban Good Camp project so far, and what it's achieved through using these creating these communities. So we all know the importance of climate change and what's happening in terms of the challenges that we're facing across the world. And these challenges are especially being felt in urban areas, because urban areas have a higher population density, and this means that there's a greater strain on resources and natural areas, which could possibly mitigate the change. So in order to solve these problems, we require participation and collaborative efforts from societal actors from all spheres. And this participation is very important because we want to make sure that learners are provided with skills that are relevant to today, and give them the confidence to tackle real-world issues, as well at the same time create meaningful change and be able to solve the right problems, because we really want to make sure that we're solving the problems that matter and the problems that are being faced in our societies. And the university can function as a hub and as a center point of innovation and learning, and then bring together business, governments, and community members to take on their insights and their knowledge into which are the most relevant challenges for them to face for society, and also gain their knowledge and input. So using Urban Good Camp as a case study, we can look at it through this lens. And Urban Good Camp really wants to, so I think of it as a pyramid, the aims of Urban Good Camp. At the bottom, we want to engage urban stakeholders through creating these communities, so that we can develop and implement multidisciplinary learning interventions for students, and therefore, and through that, empower universities to tackle urban challenges. So the main activities in this initiative is, and the reason why we develop these communities is, I want to start first with training program development. So students from different disciplines are being brought together, and we've developed a training program for them in the form of a boot camp. And throughout those training programs, a red line through all of those is a challenge. So we've gone to these communities in all the different cities, and we've said, what are the issues that you're facing? and can you define them? So these defined challenges are really what students have at the core of their modules, at the core of the course, and then they work on those. And now flipping back to the community development, this had to be done before the training took place. So many stakeholders in their 6 cities that are taking part, stakeholders were brought in, and a dialogue was established with them to define these specific challenges that they are facing in the specific city. So it is city specific. Context specific. And the hopes was that the stakeholders would program in some way. Also that this will go past to work together to address these urban challenges. Especially through sharing their knowledge and practices and finding synergies between their around 2 challenges per city, and will be introduced to their ideas for solutions for these real world challenges. Then they'll also go on innovation tours, which are site visits, and we also included the stakeholders in this because we really wanted them to lead those site visits and give suggestions for site visits. And in the mentorship scheme, which we were also hoping that the stakeholders, and in many cases they have, stakeholders will take on the role of mentors in the program, where students can come to them with any questions they may have or the challenges that they're facing. So then in the second boot camp, it's more about prototyping, putting the solution more into practice and getting feedback from the stakeholders. So engaging our urban stakeholders in these communities, we engaged them and will engage them because this project is still ongoing. So we'd really like to come back and be able to tell you a little bit more about what we find. But so initially the timeline was that the first thing we did was have a consultation event with our stakeholders in each city to find out what are the main challenges you're facing. Originally, we'd all done some research to have broad themes to kind of streamline the conversation. But then in this consultation event, it was really a validation of what are the challenges you're facing and can you give us more information about them so we can really make them concrete so that students can work on them. Then the next touch point with our stakeholders would be community building, where we bring the stakeholders together and try to find more synergies and obtain feedback on the training program that has been developed so far. So we developed the training program and then we go to the stakeholders and we said, can you give us feedback on how we have, what do you think of these events? What do you think of the content? What do you think is relevant for our city before we actually start the course? Then after the first training session, we have another feedback event, and this feedback is more on the implementation of the course. So stakeholders will give us more information and give us feedback on how the course was implemented. So that before the second training session, because 2 training sessions, 2 feedback sessions, so that before the second training session, we can also improve the course before we go on to that. One of our final things, which we haven't had our second feedback event or our inter-community event, which is the final event. It's not the final, but it's one of our final events. This is where all the communities come together in an event and share their best practices and give a co-creation event with lots of different viewpoints. One challenge that we are facing at the moment is having one language. So if the event is in English, a lot of participants won't be able to join. So this is something we're still thinking around how to do this. So the most important part really, and the baseline of this initiative, is the development of these communities. And there were a few main steps we took to engage our stakeholders. So as I mentioned earlier, we first created an outline of different kinds of challenges that the cities were facing. So we really did some research into each city. So for example, I'm in Amsterdam. We looked into what are the main challenges being faced in Amsterdam right now, and we found out some more information about them. Then we assembled relevant community members, and we got them to these challenges are what was told us tonight if we want to use these challenges in our training program. And then we kickstarted the collaboration and try to find, also, it's not just for us, it's also for the stakeholders. So we really wanted to find synergies amongst them as well, while defining and gaining insights into urban challenges that they really found most pressing. So that was important, that this actually makes an impact as well. It's not just a fun learning activity, it has value. And then we integrated our new insights into the content when we developed the training program. And this allows students to have an opportunity to apply their knowledge that they'll learn to real issues. And so after consulting with our stakeholders to define those challenges, our next step is to touch base again with the stakeholders and find out what are their perceptions of the training program we've created, and what feedback do they have on the framework, on how we're going to do it, as well as the materials and the content that we've created. So we found we got some of these have not yet taken place actually, and some of them have, and I'm very excited to share an example of one of them that have taken place. But so it was to obtain feedback on these different activities that we need to do, and then also we'll have a second. We've obtained information about insights into how we can improve the first boot camp, the theoretical part of our training, and the next one we'll get feedback on how we implement it. So we really also want to create stronger connections between the stakeholders and the university, and think, how can we solve problems together? How can we work together to solve these urban challenges? And then we've also created an action plan with the stakeholders of, in each city, how can we further this collaboration? How can we find more opportunities to work together? And yes, my favorite part, some of the outcomes, which have been very exciting, is we have defined more than 13 city-specific challenges that are being used in the boot camps that are starting to take place. We'll finish in January. More than 100, a deeper collaboration has been going on between the university and the stakeholders. And an example of some of the challenges that have been defined are related to some lack of synergies between different urban projects in the city. So this was, for example, in Venice, lack of attractive, sustainable mobility options for people who want to travel inside and outside the city. This is in Ljubljana, biodiversity loss, and scaling up, the need to scale up urban agriculture. And the little case example from Venice, which I thought was very, this city as soon as they finish university, and of course, issues related to over tourism. So they really took those topics and they made them more, they fleshed them out and they made them more specific. And then finally, something that's very exciting is something going forward. The university is continually, and now they have made some concrete connections between Ca' Foscari University and urban stakeholders in Venice, and they together are testing ways in which they can bring those initiatives in the urban area together, so they can solve challenges together and not work in parallel. And then also working towards making Venice a resident and tourist-friendly city, and that the university can hopefully become a platform where co-designing and co-creation processes with local stakeholders can happen, and it can be really become an effective learning environment. So far, we're still in the beginning stages. I'm really excited to share with you outcomes on the students at some point, which will be very exciting. But yes, thank you. And apologies for all my technical errors. And I hope that you got to hear all of my presentation.
Yes, Catherine, thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation. Yes, we had some issues with the internet, but yeah, successfully the message was spread around. So I'm watching to the time, and I have to apologize, but we took some 10 minutes from your lunch break. But beside of that, I would like to invite you to come back to the main room and to meet the sustainability journal editors and to answer. So I think that you will have a possibility to discuss about the printing the articles, about some questions which may arise regarding the publishing issues and so on. So thank you very much again for joining this session, for your presentations. It was really, really inspiring. So see you at the main session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So probably I'm going back to the main session. Thank you very much for your support and help. So
yes, thank you for being here, and we'll open this up again just before 2 o'clock.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right.
Goodbye.
Enjoy.